Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining our Japan pre-trip webinar. Apologies that I'm a couple minutes late. Just had a slight technical issue, which is now resolved, I think. So we are going to get started in just a moment. Hi, Fran. Fran, are you there? Yeah, you're just connecting to audio. Sounds good.
Hi, Gordon.
Hi there. Hi there. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our pre-trip webinar. And you know what? I've got the, let's see here. Let me make sure I'm in the right place. Yeah. We apologies, as it just had a slight technical issue in getting started, but we are resolved and going to start in just a moment. I see that we have a bunch of our members already online, so thanks for joining us. We'll wait another minute just to see if a few more folks join us, and then we're going to get started talking all about your trip to Japan next month, which I hope you are as excited about as I am. Okay. Okie dokie. All right. I see a couple more join. So thanks for all of those who said hello as well. Hi, Sita up in Ottawa, Anne Marie in Gananoque. Hello, Judy, Pat, and Jay, all together in Kelowna. Thanks for joining us this morning. I am here in Estonia, actually, is where I'm bringing you this webinar from today. And Fran, of course, you're at home in Uxbridge. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All righty, sounds good. Okay. All right, it's 2 minutes past, so we're going to get started. Thanks again for your patience. Today's webinar topic is our trip to Japan, which of course has our pre-tour to Korea, to Seoul, as well as our post-trip for those going on to Taiwan. We're going to be covering all of that today. And the agenda is, first of all, I'm going to introduce your host in just a second. Fran, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things you should prepare for your trip, what's going to happen when you fly and when you arrive either in Seoul or in Tokyo. I'm going to touch on the itinerary. I'm not going to go through it in any great detail. If you do have questions about any aspect of the itinerary, though, please do prepare them, and we will address them in the last part of the webinar in our Q&A session at the end. So most importantly, I would like to introduce Fran. Now we get to see two pictures of Fran. And Fran Reed is going to be your host through Japan, and we're super excited. So Fran, maybe a few words of introduction.
Hi, everyone. I'm looking forward to our trip next month. I've spent the last 15 years traveling on my own all over the place, with a lot of the highlights being as a scuba diver. So a different approach to travel. And a few years ago, I started traveling with Wheel and Anchor, and I guess that prepared me to be a host. I'm looking forward to it.
It sure did. And so Fran has been working closely with our other hosts like Val or Alfie and Todd to get ready for this trip. And it's going to make sure that you have an amazing time. And if you haven't already reached out to Fran on Telegram, we'll come to that point in a few slides anyway. Then yeah, please do reach out, say hello. Fran, I'm sure you'll be delighted to hear from our members. So let's get into the nitty-gritty and talk first of all about some of the things that you need to prepare and make sure that you have for your trip. First of all, as I always say, and for those of you who've attended our pre-trip webinars before, you'll hear me say, I sound like a broken record, but make sure you know where your passport is. You know, it's funny, it's happened to me even sometimes where it's like I keep it in one safe place at home, and then, you know, in preparation for a trip, I'm thinking, oh, I'll just move it over here. And then, of course, you're in a panic looking for it. So wherever you normally keep it, don't move it. But double check as well the expiry date. We've typically done that for you. We've made sure that the passports are valid for this trip, but it's always good to make a double check because you've still got time. And other than that, as far as documentation, that's about it. Of course, there's no COVID restrictions. Well, there are some COVID regulations. We're going to touch on that in a second, but there are no restrictions. You don't need to bring a vaccination certificate. That being said, I don't know, I always have mine stuck in my travel bag because you know, one never knows. But as far as requirements are concerned, there is nothing else. However, that being said, is for both Korea and Taiwan, there is a little bit of stuff that you have to do in advance. Of course, all this information is in the pre-trip information document that was sent to you a week or so ago, or perhaps 2 weeks ago. I think you got it already at the end of August. So if you've read through that, a lot of the information I'm going to be repeating. But for Korea, they have a so-called KAETA, Korea Electronic Travel Authority, which is normally required at the current point in time. The requirement for that is waived. So actually, you don't need any extra documentation for Korea. However, we included the link in there anyway, cost $10. And so if you wish, you can fill it in. It then precludes you from having to fill in the arrival card. If you remember back in the day, up until COVID, we used to fill in those arrival cards for coming to Canada. They have something similar for Korea, that if you don't do this electronic travel authority, you'll have to fill in when you get there. Not a big deal. The last time I went to Korea, I did not have any electronic travel authority either. So it's, as I say, it's not something to worry about. It's just something that you can do. Korea does, though, still have a so-called Q code system as it relates to COVID. So this is kind of like, those COVID tracking apps that we used to use. I will tell you that technically speaking, they say you are supposed to have this app on your phone. Practically speaking, from what I've heard from friends of mine and colleagues that live in Korea, it's not actually checked or used anywhere, including at the airport. But they do say one should have it for the arrival. So once again, we've stuck that information in there, the link. So please do check it out. And I always say, even if it's not necessary, better to have than not. You never know what some authority might ask for. For Japan, there's no requirements at all. And for Taiwan, for those continuing on to Taiwan, and you can do this now, or you can do it when you get to Japan, you need to fill in an electronic arrival card, which is, again, it's similar to the one for Korea, and it's similar to the one that we used to have to fill in when returning to Canada. So the links are all in there. The information should be clear and straightforward. And before you go, it's always a good idea. I personally take a picture of my passport of the information page where your photo is, just in case, God forbid, anything should happen to it. But if you have that, it makes it a lot easier to sort of get assistance. Not to mention that, I, in most places, don't carry my passport. I leave it in the hotel, in the little safe in the room. But if you have a copy in your passport, you have all the information. You don't have to worry about carrying it around. So that's just to keep in mind, and perhaps print out as well a copy of your e-ticket for your flight. Not necessary if you have the information on your phone, but I know some people like to have information in good old paper format. So that's about it as far as documentation and so on that's required. Let's talk about packing. Fran, maybe you want to say a few words about what's the dress code, if you will. There is no dress code.
Pretty casual in layers. Bring something warm because it might be cool at night. Bring something that you can be comfortable if the weather gets warm. I bumped into somebody yesterday who had just been in Japan, and they said it was 40 degrees during the day. That was like last month. So got to be prepared for all possibilities.
Exactly. And, as you say, weather is as unpredictable as ever. Our group that's currently in Greece showed up in what's usually one of the driest months of the year to the heaviest rainfalls they've had in a century. So you never know. But typically in Japan, the weather at this time of the year is usually in the high 10s or low 20s. And it's a little bit cooler, a teeny bit cooler in Korea. So just to give you some orientation on what the weather's like, Taipei, on the other hand, for those of you going to Taiwan, is definitely warmer. You're talking mid to upper 20s. And it is likely you'll experience some rain here or there. I mean, Japan, obviously, with its situation in the Pacific Ocean, or in the Sea of Japan specifically, does get rain from time to time. So having a raincoat, something waterproof is good. As Fran mentioned, it's all very casual. The one thing feedback that we've had from previous trips, really important to remember, is do have shoes that you can easily slip on and off. Because when you're visiting temples, when you're visiting people's homes or museums that were formerly people's homes, and there's a few examples of that in Taiwan, in Japan, you will have to remove your shoes. So not to mention that in the Ryokan, which I'll tell you about in a minute, which is the Japanese style hotel that you're going to be staying in Nagano, up in the mountains of Japan, you're not allowed to wear shoes or even slippers into the hotel room. So that's what I say. It's if you don't already have some, might be a good idea to grab some shoes that you can just sort of kick off and don't have to worry about lacing and unlacing, because you will do that more frequently than we're used to at home. I can tell you that. And sun protection is always a good idea. I mean, let's hope you have beautiful sunshine every day, but you will be outside exposed to the sun, and so making sure that you have proper sun protection, hat, sunglasses, the usual stuff is a good idea. But otherwise, it's casual. The other thing that Fran and I were talking about yesterday when we were just getting ready for this webinar, what you'll find in all of these countries, in Japan, in Korea, and Taiwan, is that people dress generally quite modestly. I mean, there's exceptions to every rule, but you don't find a lot of people with very flashy sort of outfits. So I'm the type of traveler that likes to travel, likes to sort of fit in. I kind of like to look like a local as opposed to looking like a tourist. And, we've all traveled before. We know what tourists can look like. So my suggestion is, pick things that are more on the modest side, because we like to fit in. We don't like to stick out. It's sort of our philosophy. I leave that up to you. As far as the temples are concerned, because this is always a question, there is no specific dress code requirement. Again, modesty is the order of the day, and I don't think this. Let's put it this way: none of our groups that have been to Japan before, or Taiwan, or Korea, have had an issue, because people are generally dressing fairly conservatively. They don't like mini skirts. They don't like tank tops. They don't like this kind of stuff. I don't usually see a lot of Wheel and Anchor members with that kind of attire, so I think you should be good. Let's talk about a few of the other things to remember. Is there anything, Fran, that comes to mind that you think people should make sure they stick in their suitcase?
I always carry a really small umbrella.
Yeah.
Just, either for shade or for the unexpected drizzle. Yeah, your adapter for sure. I'll be having a power pack just in case things run out while we're on the bus or whatever. So I'll have something like that as a backup.
Exactly. And if you're somebody that has some device that you need close to the bed, as an example, a CPAP machine, we do have some members that have brought those along. An extension cord is a good idea, because the plug is not often, but not always right where it needs to be for that. So if you're carrying some kind of an appliance that you need to be in a specific location in the room, doesn't have to be a 20-meter long one, but a little bit of extra power cord would be good. The adapters for this trip for Japan and for Taiwan are the same as in North America. So you actually don't need any adapter. Korea, on the other hand, does use the European style of plug with the two round prongs. To keep in mind as well, make sure that any medications that you need, please take them in your carry-on. Again, it's really, particularly in these countries, replacing prescriptions is possible. You can get anything there. It's just a bit of a hassle with the language barrier and everything else. So do take any necessary medications in your hand luggage. Take a copy of your prescription. Take a photo of the copy of your prescription. So just in case that you should have to replace anything, it's easily accessible. Also, please do bring your mobile phone. And so on this kind of a trip, we don't provide SIM cards for our members, because there's a lot of moving around. We're going to 3 different countries. You don't need a SIM card all the time. There's Wi-Fi in lots of places, in restaurants, hotels, all over the place in all three countries. But we use the app Telegram to communicate messages. Those of you who've been on our trips before will be familiar with it. I'm going to cover that in a second. But having a mobile phone is super, super handy for all the reasons that we'll get into. I also like to take Ziploc bags. They're my thing. I like Ziploc bags for everything. You know, you can stick your wallet or your phone into it in case it starts raining. I mean, we don't have a lot of water-based activities on this trip, so it's not as crucial, but you know, I just find Ziploc bags are just handy for all kinds of stuff. And I think that's about it in terms of other sort of little tips that we have of things to bring along. As for the Wise card, sorry, I was going to say, as for currency, I would not bother trying to get Korean won or Japanese yen or Taiwanese dollars in advance in Canada. It's just a hassle, quite honestly. And the exchange shops in the airport charge ridiculous exchange rates, quite frankly. So we suggest using the Wise card. Why? The Wise card is like a prepaid credit card, a Visa, which you can use just as you would use a credit card anywhere at home. The benefit to it is that you can load it up with Canadian dollars by doing an Interac e-transfer from your bank. There's a few other ways to load it up. And then you have a balance. There's an app on your phone that you can see on the screen there. It shows you your balance in Canadian dollars. You can then proactively easily switch money between Canadian dollars and like 50 other currencies, and then spend in those currencies, or you can literally just leave it in Canadian dollars, tap your card, and it will automatically deduct the amount at the best exchange rate that I've ever experienced at a retail level. So it's just the benefit if you're going to be out, particularly if you think you're going to do any shopping, if you're going to spend a bit more money, you do save quite a bit on the fees and the exchange rates. You don't need a lot of cash for this trip. Again, these countries are all much like in North America and Europe. It's all cashless society, so you can use credit cards anywhere. So it's certainly not essential to get the Wise card. You can use your credit card for buying a ticket on the train or like a bus ticket, or for at just about any shops. Obviously, there are little markets here and there that might prefer taking cash, but even those are becoming few and far between. You really can get everywhere with a credit card. And in terms of getting cash out, because I know that a lot of our members just like to have cash. If you use a Wise card, you can withdraw the first 350 Canadian dollar equivalent in local currency without any bank charges. And again, I know most banks in Canada are charging anywhere between sort of $5 and $10 for a foreign withdrawal. So once again, you save there if you use something like the Wise card. We don't get anything for recommending the Wise card. I just find it the best invention for traveling. Yeah, and the link to that is there if you need it. Let's talk for a moment about Telegram. I know that Fran has a few comments about the use of Telegram. This is our communication app. It works very much the same as WhatsApp. If you're familiar with that, a lot of our members use WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or even iMessage. Basically, you pick a name from your contacts, somebody who has Telegram, and you're able to send a message. And we use Telegram because it is private and distinct from the other apps. So therefore, we use it on our trip. If you never want to see it again, or if you never want to hear from anybody again, you can just delete the app and nobody will ever hear from you. So it has a bunch of other functions. Fran, you were going to say your experience in using Telegram?
Yes, on two of the previous trips, some of the people hadn't downloaded the app before we arrived in the country, and so they were out of the loop with the rest of everyone else. They provide you with a second authentication code, which comes to your cell number in Canada. And I was having trouble with another banking thing, and I even switched my SIM card and it didn't come through. So please download the Telegram app before you go, and that way we'll be able to have easier communication while we're in South Korea and Japan.
Exactly. And it's not like it's going to be Fran's going to be sending messages sort of all day and all night, but it's more like, if there's a change to the program for the following day, the evening before, then Fran will send a message out to the group using Telegram sometime in the evening. So if you check it before bed or you check it when you wake up in the morning, then you'll see if there's a message, if there's anything important that you need to know. Not to mention that, if there's an evening that's free and some of the group want to perhaps go get together and go out for dinner somewhere. You can communicate with your fellow members quite easily. So it's a great tool. The thing we do ask, as we indicate in the pre-trip information document, please do download it, set it up before you go. That way, we alleviate Fran from having to help you figure out the technology. It works mostly the same on every kind of device, but from my own experience, everybody's device has a few quirks. If for some reason you can't get it to work yourself, ask your child, or even better, your grandchild, or somebody of that age group, and I guarantee you they'll be able to figure it out in about 10 seconds flat. So that's the best advice I can give you for Telegram. Just wanted to touch on our health protocols for this trip. First of all, as we spell out, our trips are non-smoking, which doesn't mean you can't be a smoker to join our trip. We just ask that if you are somebody that smokes, that you do it, away, not while on any of our excursions together, and away from group members, just because we find that the vast majority of our members are non-smokers. So please do keep that in mind. And the only other thing is, if you feel ill at any time, please let Fran know right away. And if you're exhibiting any symptoms at all, please do. We do ask that you wear a mask. You know how it is these days. I've was in Canada for the last couple of months over the summer, and you're riding the subway or a bus or something somewhere, and somebody's like coughing up a lung and doesn't wear a mask, and it just doesn't give you a very good feeling. So we kind of want to avoid that and bring a mask along just in case, even if it's like an allergy or some other thing that isn't the C word, but nobody else necessarily knows that. We just want to keep everybody at ease. So that is our kind request. Good. So let's talk a little bit about your trip over there. First of all, before you're ready to go, before you're ready to fly out, whether you're starting with our pre-trip in Korea or whether you're going directly over to Japan, it's the 24 hours before your flight when you will get notifications, typically from the airline, if there are any changes. And in that case, if there is a change, and I don't mean if the flight's 10 minutes late or 15 minutes late, but if there is some change that means that you may miss your connection flight, or your connection flight is going to be drastically delayed, so the one that's going to have you arrive in Seoul or in Tokyo, please send an email to us at delays@wheelandanchor.ca. It's a great idea as well to use the Telegram at that moment and send a message to Fran so she can be aware. But the delays@wheelandanchor.ca email goes to our operations team, who can then make sure that the company that's picking you up in Seoul or in Tokyo is informed and knows that you're not going to be on the flight. So that's much appreciated. And the only thing I'm going to say is about jet lag. Of course, there is, as we all know, a significant time difference between Canada and Japan. As I take a glass of water. So we, in fact, our host Amber strongly recommends, and I actually tried it this time as I made my way over here to Europe, an app called timeshifter.com. And basically what it does is it alters your schedule and tells you when to drink coffee and not to drink coffee and so on. And it really is quite effective at alleviating the symptoms of jet lag. So you might want to consider checking out that app and downloading it. Once you arrive into, as I say, either Seoul or Tokyo, a transfer driver will meet you at the airport. They'll be there. They'll either have a sign that has the Wheel and Anchor logo on it or your name, or both. So please do look for either. On your transfer voucher, there's a phone number as well on there with the contact number of the transfer company that's picking you up. So if for some reason there's any problem, there is Wi-Fi in the airports. So again, if there's a problem, you can email that email address, or you can also send a message to Fran, and we'll figure out. Problems are seldom. I mean, we seldom have issues with members not getting picked up, but you never know if there's a delay or this or if there's really bad traffic and the driver is delayed. Again, it's very unusual, but it's always good to have all the information there. Yeah, and then you'll be picked up, and then Fran will be there with a big smiling face waiting for you when you arrive in Seoul, Korea, and for that matter, for those who are arriving into Tokyo for just the Japan trip. The group that is coming from Korea is going to be traveling together from Seoul to Tokyo, and we'll get transferred downtown, and you'll all meet at the hotel and be ready to get on your journey. So I will touch on a few things from the itinerary. And again, I'm not going to go through the itinerary in great detail because we've already done this in the main webinar, not to mention, I'm sure you've read all of the notes. And I see that the sun is playing havoc with my screen. Please reread through everything. All of the times that are indicated in there, by the way, are sort of indicative. And Fran will always confirm the evening before what the timing is going to be for the following day. Again, a good reason to have Telegram handy so you just make sure you know what time we're leaving so that the bus doesn't leave without you, so to speak. Obviously, our trip in Korea is focused on Seoul. You're going to be staying right in the heart of Seoul in Myeongdong, which is a very lively, wonderful parts of town, all kinds of restaurants, Korean and international cuisine. And over the course of the 5 nights that you're going to be spending there, you're going to really take in a lot. And Seoul is a big city, a vibrant city. It's exciting. One thing I want to just forewarn you about Seoul, and this applies to a certain extent to Tokyo and to Taipei as well. It's the pace of life is hectic. People, they walk quickly. Things are crowded. If you're riding at some point, and I do recommend that you ride the subway system in Seoul if you get the chance, because it's vast, it's super efficient, it's super clean, but it's busy, particularly if you're going around rush hour. So things happen at a very fast pace, and we're there on holiday, like lollygagging around and just enjoying ourselves. But just don't be surprised if and people are generally very polite and friendly there. But at the same time, it seems like everybody's in a hurry. And even like some of the meals that you'll enjoy when you're in Seoul, we want you to experience not just what Koreans eat, but how they eat. So you'll have a classic Korean, not fine dining, but you'll be sitting on plastic tables in a restaurant having kimchi and having all these other bibimbap and these other delicious foods from Korea. But it's like the whole pace of it is just it's much quicker than what we're accustomed to at home. So and also personal space, right? Even when we use public transit at home, people are they keep their distance and all the rest of it. Not there. I mean, you're sort of cheek to cheek. And so embrace the experience is basically what I'm trying to say. So while you're in Seoul, you're going to be taken around to see, the Seoul Tower, the incredible Cheonggyecheon, if I pronounce it correctly, palace, some fascinating temples. The city has a great juxtaposition between old and new. It's fascinating. You're going to get up to the Korean DMZ. So this is the demilitarized zone that separates North and South Korea. It's an amazing day. It gives you a glimpse into the whole history of the relations between North and South, and obviously the security protocols. It's fascinating. I mean, you'll hang off every word of the guide that day. There are no special requirements for that day. We're obviously not crossing into North Korea, so you don't have to worry about that. You don't even need to take, to my knowledge, from my last visit, you don't even need to take a passport with you. But again, you'll be reminded of anything to prepare the day before from Fran and from our local guide there. Lots of temples to see as well. One is more spectacular than the next. And as I say, the dress code is modest, but not particularly restrictive. So that's basically all that you need to know about Korea. Everything else is in the program. You will then fly as a group from Seoul to Tokyo and arrive together and transfer from Haneda Airport into the city center to the Metropolitan Hotel, where you're going to be staying for the next 3 nights. And you'll get a good taste of Tokyo. It is a vast, vast city. And so you'd need a lifetime to cover it all, but you're certainly going to see the main sites of Tokyo, and then of course go overland by coach up into Nagano Prefecture, and then continuing from Kanazawa down by train to Kyoto, which will be the final base. You'll go by bullet train down to Hiroshima, as well as back to Tokyo for those who are continuing back to Canada after Japan. So lots of things to know about. I mean, obviously we've all seen pictures and we've heard about the Giza and the famous streets of Tokyo, all very busy, all lit up, the razzle dazzle. And I'll be interesting to hear your feedback about what you think about Japan, because Korea is kind of like a little more rough and tumble version of Japan. I think in some ways they aspire to the Japanese. At the same time, there's a rivalry there. I mean, obviously the Japanese occupied Korea some centuries ago, and so there's an interesting dynamic that you'll find. But Japan is just pristine. Everything is clean, everything is efficient. When you ride the trains and so on, you'll see that everything goes literally by the minute, if not by the second. It's really remarkable how this country functions, and that's part of the delight. You'll go down to the seaside town of Kamakura, where you'll spend a day, and you'll get a chance to try on the Japanese kimonos and the yukatas, which is always sort of a fun event that our members really enjoy. Mount Fuji, if you're really lucky, you'll see it like you see in this picture. But generally speaking, there is a haze. Sometimes it's a bit of smog. Japan isn't super polluted in and around Tokyo, but I mean, it is one of the largest cities in the world. So don't be surprised if you aren't able to see it. But I'd say at some point during your stay, either here or on your way up to Suwa in Nagano, hopefully you'll get a chance. And if the weather is good, you will go up to the 5th station. So it's one of the highest points you can reach on the side of Mount Fuji by road. So that's certainly a highlight of the trip. But so many other little details along the way. Obviously, the various castles like at Matsumoto that you're going to visit. And this is what I really love about this trip is, the cities are great, but these rural towns like Takayama and Suwa, and so on that you're going to visit are just remarkable. So you'll get a real insight, and you'll learn about where sake comes from and how it's made, and you'll get to taste it, and you'll see some of the traditional homesteads from the Japanese in Shirakawa-go, as well as the origin of the samurai in Kanazawa, which is on the northwestern coast on the Sea of Japan. So many things. One thing to note here in Kanazawa is, as you prepare to head to Kyoto, this is one of the days when we are going to be taking your luggage separately and transporting it directly to the hotel, so you don't have to bother managing it through the train station. So it will require that you have a sort of an overnight bag for that one day, so that when your luggage is picked up, it'll be delivered to you the latest the following day. It's actually happened that it's arrived the same day, but just to be sure, we ask you to take an overnight bag. So think about that when you're packing, that you have an extra bag to put things for just to be able to go over a night. Kyoto is a remarkable city. The history and these amazing temples, in particular the Inari Shrine, are just incredible. But it's also a very bustling and modern city, and you're staying right close to the main railway station in Kyoto, which is going to make it easy for your trip down to Hiroshima, because you can literally walk about 200 meters from the hotel to the train station, not to mention for the departure day. You're going to get to feed the deer down in Nara, which is one of the largest wooden structures in the world. And of course, you're going to go to Hiroshima, which is a very sobering day, I must say, as you can well imagine. Hiroshima War Memorial is quite a place to visit. I mean, it really is a sobering reminder of humanity and what we've done to each other. So I also suggest for this day again to consider dressing more modestly because of your visits to the War Memorial and the sites around it. And one of the highlights of Japan, of course, is going to be an evening that you'll spend with Maiko, which is a geisha apprentice, and she will tell you all about the history of it and this sort of somewhat dying tradition that they have in Japan. And it's a wonderful way to wrap up a trip in Japan. For those of you who are leaving from Kyoto via Tokyo back to Canada, Fran will be going with you. And we put the notes in there. We're providing you with the bullet train ticket that's going to take you back to Tokyo's main station. And then you have to pick up that last ticket, which we are not able to buy in advance. By hook or by crook, they don't let us buy in advance. So, but Fran will be there to assist you with that. So it won't be a problem, so that you can get back to Haneda Airport for your journey back home. And those continuing on the final leg to Taiwan, which is unhosted because it's only a small group that's going off to Taiwan, as we let you know. So Fran is heading back with the rest of the group to Canada after Japan. So for those heading on to Taiwan, you'll be flying from Osaka, which is a relatively short drive. It's about an hour away from Kyoto, directly into Taipei. And when you arrive in Taipei, our lovely local guide, Kylie, is going to pick you up. She is truly a delight. You'll have a wonderful time with her. She's going to be right there waiting for you on arrival in Taipei, bring you downtown for your 5 nights in Taiwan. Taiwan is a really incredible country. I've been a couple of times. I've not seen nearly enough of it. But during your stay, you're obviously going to get really acquainted with Taipei, which in some ways is quite similar to Hong Kong, of course, being Chinese language, ethnic Chinese. But of course, we all know about what's going on in these, this, how shall I say this, chest pounding between the Chinese and the Taiwanese and all the rest of it. But things are pretty calm, and you'll find the Taiwanese just as calm as well. And so you'll get a great chance to experience some of the cuisine that's there, some of the beautiful countryside, and of course, these tremendous museums and palaces and so on that they have. Taipei is a wonderful city, and it's one of those ones people come back with that they really didn't expect how nice it is. You'll also do a bullet train ride down to Kaohsiung, which is the port city in the very southernmost part of the island, and you can zip all the way down in no time, spend the day and come back. So you'll have a terrific time in Kaohsiung. So that pretty much wraps up the trip. So we've given you information about what you need to prepare, and also about Telegram and the currency that's needed, and what's going to happen on arrival. If you have any questions that would be a benefit for the whole group, now is the time to ask them. And I did see a question here that came in from Sita about the additional information. So the additional information document that was sent to you with the booking form way back when you booked, so in most cases last year, or in some cases last year or earlier this year, that information is all still relevant. But as far as what you need to know for the trip, it would be the pre-trip information document that would have been sent to you with transfer vouchers and so on. That would have come to you. I don't have the exact day that was sent out, but within the last 2 weeks. If you have not gotten anything within the last 2 weeks, please do reach out to the trip specialist that looked after you, either Paula or Barb, or if you've been in touch with Aura, one of those three fine women will make sure that you have the information that you need. So that's that's that. Anne Marie asked a question about checked-in baggage. Listen, my advice always is, if you can travel with just carry-on, that's the best way to go, because odds are you're not going to lose it because you got it. That being said, it's a fairly long trip. And so, you are a few nights in Tokyo. You're obviously 5 nights in Seoul for those that are going, as well as in Taiwan. So there's time to get laundry done. And there's time to get laundry done while you're in Kyoto. So you could certainly make do with just a carry-on. But otherwise, most airfares are allowing for checked-in luggage. Just again, I always think about it. Just happened to me on my trip here to Europe. Sure enough, Air Canada was an hour and a half late, and I missed my connection, and my suitcase didn't make it. So I was 3 days without a suitcase earlier this week. So it's still happening. So, you know, keep in mind that you have a change of clothes. I didn't even follow my own advice when I got here to Europe. And so I had to go out and buy some stuff because I didn't expect that they would lose my suitcase, but sure enough, they did. So always expect the unexpected, as they say. But listen, in most cases, they don't lose your luggage. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. That's all I would say about that. Let's see. Are there any other questions that have come in? I don't see any other questions. Wow, I must have done a good job today. Good. Well, if you do have a question, because, you know, needless to say, you might think of one 5 minutes after we finish the webinar, please do drop us a note. Again, you can send a note to either Paula or Barb or Aura, whoever it is that you were most recently dealing with. They will make sure to answer your question. Sita's asking, she wants to add Fran to Telegram. Fran, you're already on Telegram, yeah?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, and I think your Telegram handle was in the pre-trip information document, was it not?
Yes, I'm trying to think of it offhand. It's Francine _WA, I think, but don't.
I think, yeah. Okay, let me see if I've got it here. It is in the Japan pre-trip information document. I'm just going to see if I can pull it out here again myself. Because, yeah, and let's see here. Pre-trip information should be there under Telegram. We normally put it in. So I'm just scrolling through. And as I say, if you don't find it there, then let's see. Trip information. I can't seem to see it here. Yeah. There you go. You caught us. You caught us, Sita.
No, I didn't have my phone, so I'm sort of looking for it myself right now.
Oh, you know what? I've got it on my phone. I'll tell you all what it is. Because
Me
Fran
too.
just messaged me the other day. Yes, so it is Fran's username on Telegram is @ so the @ sign, like you're doing it in an email, @ Francine, FRANCINE _WA. Okay, in fact, I will put it in the chat box if you've all got the chat box here. If you see your chat box, Fran's Telegram account is @ Francine _WA. So there you go. I put it in the chat box in case you didn't see it. Again, if there's any doubts, any concerns, just drop us an email and we'll make sure you have everything you need. That's all for me. Is there anything else, Fran, that I forgot to mention?
No, and I just got a message from Candace, so I'm sending something back.
There you go. Okay, great. Thanks, Candace. So yeah, do set that up and drop Fran a note. Once again, I stuck it in the chat box @ Francine _WA. You can also email Fran now. She now has she has an email account with Wheel and Anchor as of earlier today. The email for Fran is francine@wheelandanchor.ca. Fran, did you get your email that you have an email?
Yes, I haven't signed up for it yet, though.
Yeah,
so
that's fine. Anyway, but the emails are coming in, so lots of ways to get a hold of Fran. Good. All right then, Fran. Well, I guess that's it. We can say goodbye to all of our members until our trip.
Yes, and I look forward to meeting you next month. It's only like less than 4 weeks away for the ones that are
4 weeks away.
starting in South Korea. So look forward to meeting you soon.
Have a wonderful time. This is a great trip. We had such great feedback from our last trip with Alfie there in May, and you'll have a blast. So take care, and thanks for joining us. And we'll catch you on another webinar again soon. And you'll see Fran in a month's time, as she just mentioned. Have a great day.
And, there was a question from Sita. The name of the app for the sorry, jet lag is
Time Shifter.
Time Shifter.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Timeshifter.com. Again, it's listed in the pre-trip information document, but I stuck it in Sita, I sent a message back to you. Good. Thanks again, everyone. Have yourselves a great day, and we'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.